Another guest this week. We had Mr. DeBeer on, but now we got Josh Moser, Fox 11 sports director. What is up, my man? I feel like I'm just living on top of the world right now, talking to some good people. What's going on?
Oh, man, you got to aim higher than me, my man. Oh, even way higher. No, I'm just excited for sports to be back. Grateful to have a job. It's kind of crazy when you sit back, talk about perspective. I mean, we're getting paid for a living to talk about sports. So it's pretty special, especially to do it here in Wisconsin where people care so much about the Packers. And, hopefully we'll have a season. We don't know right now, but the players are back inside the building. So positive step.
Yeah, so, I mentioned it to you. I had a few beers in me, Josh. I
wish I could have them. I'm working.
No, but, I texted you, hey, you want to jump on a podcast tonight, have a quick chat last minute, so I wasn't sure if you could. But then I turn on Twitter and Facebook and stuff, and Aaron Rodgers is live Zoom chatting everyone. And I was like, I just texted Fox 11 sports director during Aaron Rodgers' weird type of press conference because with the virus and everything going on, it's through Zoom. So first of all, I want to apologize for texting you while you're working. But how did that go with the Rodgers Zoom chat?
Oh, most importantly, any text message from Matt Ramage is welcome. So glad I could get back to you after it was over. It's that new normal. It's obviously good to see Aaron, but he can't see us. So he can just hear the audio coming through.
Oh, okay.
And we're seeing in TV a lot, we had some technical issues. He couldn't hear some people sometimes. So, we're kind of all in this thing together. But, really good to get his perspective on a lot of things. A lot of hypothetical questions were asked. Obviously, play beyond this season. Do you think there's going to be a full season? And he was just hey, we're dealing in the now. It's kind of like the rest of us. I think he has a lot of questions, like the rest of us do. When are we going to be able to hug family members again that we're not living with? When are we going to be able to go out and eat normally? And when can we get back to some sense of normalcy? And, now you throw COVID on top of this. We've seen what's happened with Major League Baseball, and now obviously the NFL is looking at what's going on with the bubble and with the NBA, the NHL. So it's all wait and see, but it's really how do you take care of yourself and those around you, and can you be held accountable? Because as of right now, there's going to be an NFL season, and the goal starting as of today when they were in the building, it's all to win that Super Bowl.
Yeah, so I watched the first part, Aaron Rodgers couldn't hear anyone, which was kind of weird because it was so awkward to watch because I was watching it, and he's like, I can't hear them. And then someone asked a question, all right, I can hear them. And then he's like, yeah, I don't like that question. No, but
happens. You got to ask good questions.
I get that. Hey, the media got to ask.
You got to bring it.
You got to ask the questions. No, but that is so weird. With these times are so different. I'm sure you're seeing things, and Aaron Rodgers is seeing things who we've never seen before. Who would have thought 5 years ago you'd be doing a Zoom chat? I'm sure those type of things have happened on a personal level, you're doing a quick interview, but a press conference for everybody is just so crazy.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen it during the regular season when Aaron Rodgers or Matt LaFleur after a game, they have the post-game presser. The Packers stream that live. So I guess in a sense it's similar. It's just, we're doing it at a different time than we normally do. But hopefully you bought some Zoom stock, back in February because that thing went through the roof.
I wish I did, man. I really wish I did because I use it a lot now. It's great.
And this is kind of crazy. I mean, even for my business in journalism, do you even need to be in the building? Can you set up a home studio and go out and do your story and then come back? And I think we're going to see a lot of shifting. And we've seen Twitter's one company that they're going full remote. Why pay rent? Or why have all of this money tied up in a huge commercial real estate deal when you can work from home, you can get a background, you can put something up digitally behind you, and essentially you can talk the same way that you normally do and save a ton of money in the process.
Yeah, I full-heartedly believe that. I think that some companies are going to see they learn from this. Hey, we don't need to have all these buildings and stuff. They can do it from their house. And like me, I got some pretty stuff behind me, and I got Jair Alexander, Devontae Adams. I got everyone here.
Yeah, but you forgot you got a loving wife that gives you the space in the house to do this. Not everybody, has that kind of control where you can just take over a room like that. And she says, "You go be you, Matt."
No, this is
My
like an
house
old
is
storage room. I had to clean it out. Well, I made my kids help me. But like, yeah, I just turned this into like a little office.
About time they do something,
Exactly. That's what they're for. Kids are for work hand. I don't know if that's a word. But so I saw this Kenny Clark talk today, right? Yeah. I had him on my podcast about 2 weeks ago. I don't mean to brag, whatever, no big deal. I'm big time now, Josh. All right? No,
You've always been big time.
He was talking about top one.
Day one. I'm saying that on the podcast with Matt Ramick since day one.
No, you've always been really cool with me. No, but like Kenny Clark talked about like not being on the top 100, and
yep.
he's talking about. Like, I saw a few quotes. What he had to say because he already talked to me, so I already knew everything I need to know. You know what I mean? No, but about him not being in the top 100, I think is ridiculous. Like what he said to me about, I think I was talking to him about not being like on Madden ratings not being really good and not like certain players not being in the Pro Bowl. Not him because he was, but like he was talking about like it's all about the tape. It's all about the tape. Watch me and you will see. Like, what do you think about like the top 100 and like how like I think a lot of Packer players get disrespected. Devontae Adams, I think Aaron Rodgers should have been higher than he was. But like especially Devontae Adams and Kenny Clark not even being on it. Zadarius Smith, I think, got dissed. Like what do you think that these players really think? And like what do you think about all that?
The players care, obviously.
Yeah, they care. I asked Crabtree. He's like, oh, they care. They care a lot.
Oh, big time. Anytime there's a list. And let me tell you, not only do the players care, but the players' moms care because their son is a superstar. Kenny, you're a Pro Bowler. You're voted as one of the best players in the league. That's less than 100 players make the Pro Bowl. So
yeah,
de facto right there, you should be on the list.
Yeah.
You got Aaron Jones. I think he was, 33? Same as his jersey number. That's a good sip right there.
Oh, you like that? I'm going to get it in.
But explain to me how you have the guy that leads the NFL in touchdowns, and he's the 33rd best player in the league going into the season. I think Lamar Jackson was number one. MVP. I'm cool with that. But Mahomes was, I think, 5. Tom Brady was ahead of Rodgers at like 13, I think. I think Rodgers was like 16. I know Devontae Adams missed 4 games, but there's no way there's 50 players better than him.
There's no way. There's no way.
I'm ashamed because I'm part of the media. I used to work at the NFL Network as a production assistant way back in the day, but it's kind of one of those things where I almost feel like they purposely do some things just to create some chatter. Like they want some chatter. That's why you play the game. We always say these preseason lists, they don't mean anything. You show me at the end of the year, first team All-Pro, second team All-Pro, Pro Bowler, and really for a lot of the players, Super Bowl champ. That's going to mean a heck of a lot more than number whatever on the preseason top 100.
See, yeah, like Aaron Jones is I think severely underrated. Like Devontae Adams, I think is so underrated because I think that people just don't give him the respect he's there. But whenever I hear a cornerback talking about him, they're always giving him respect. But like Aaron Jones being number 33, like you said, he led the league in touchdowns. Like Aaron Jones is doing things that I don't think people I think Packer fans realize, and people in Wisconsin, and I think maybe even in our division know. But I feel like he's so disrespected. And one player who I think that people don't even talk about, not that I'm saying he's top 100 or whatever, but people who will know his name is Jamal Williams. Like I've been watching his Instagram and how he's working, and I think if he was actually given a lot of reps, which I get Aaron Jones to start and all that, but like Jamal Williams, I think he's really, really good. Maybe I just kind of like him because he's always smiling. No, but like whenever he gets a ball in his hand, he does great things. And I don't know. I think Jamal Williams is a special player, very underrated. As he's behind Aaron Jones. But like, I don't know. The media must love Jamal Williams too.
Jamal's one of those guys that you gravitate towards in the locker room because he's always going to give you something. And he's just got infectious energy, fun guy. And I think he just said, look, he just wants to play football, watch anime, and be a dad. And that's it. And he's just fun to be around. You can't be with him and not have a good time. And I think what makes him good is because he's with Aaron Jones. And I like that tandem.
Yeah.
I went to USC in the Reggie Bush, Lendale White days. It was thunder and lightning and two different style of running back. And we have a similar thing here in Green Bay with the Packers. Now you're going to add A.J. Dillon to that disc, who's kind of a thumper. And, his lower body, he is stout. It's like Frank Gore, like lower body. And the career Frank Gore had. Yeah. So, to rotate three guys in, I'm curious to see, how touches are going to be split up because you still have 12 under center. You still have Devontae Adams on the outside. You've got so many weapons. And I'm curious to see what this offense is going to look like in year 2 versus last year. And it's going to be hard, though, to think because both Jones and Jamal Williams are in a contract year. Plus, you draft DeGuara, who's kind of like an H-back, and Dillon. I think it's going to be hard to keep both Williams and Jones. So It's a big year for both of them for not only the Packers, but for the 31 other teams around the league that are watching as well.
Yeah, I agree. Like, after this year, and, like, hopefully this year gets played, but I'm not so sure it's going to finish. So I think it's tough for, like, the free agents and all that. But I really do love Jamal. I love Aaron Jones, too, so I don't know how they're going to work that out. But let's just pretend, like, we're going to have a full season. It's going to be normal. Everything's going to be good. Like, you have Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams. Now you add A.J. Dillon. Like, Aaron Rodgers. Like, they can't just play out like that. They can't just be out there just playing. They got to let Aaron Rodgers throw the ball because that running back group is going to be phenomenal. Like, I think A.J. Dillon is going to be great. Like, it seems to me like I'm not no expert, Josh, all right? Plus I had a few beers in me. But running backs seem to be the best skill position to come in and just make an immediate impact. I can't say words. No, but like running backs seem to be like, as a rookie, you can come in, you can make a real impact. Wide receivers, like sometimes, we have like Randy Mosses and all these guys, but a lot of times wide receivers take a little bit of time to adjust to the league. But running backs seem to like, they can just come in and sometimes just punch you in the face. So this running back group could be good. And then the play action and all that, people talk about, we don't got no wide receivers, this and that. I think Lazard is going to be huge. Funches, he opted out, which I respect that. Like, do what you got to do. But, like, I think that this offense is not as bad a shape as people think that it is.
No, look, you get everybody back from last year. You add Reggie Begelton, who was a CFL All-Star. You add Equanimous St. Brown, who was decent in his rookie year in 2018, coming back from that ankle injury. So I think they got to figure out where he is. I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling, knows what he can do, and I think they can get consistency out of him. And it's really just up to Matt LaFleur to figure out how he wants to maneuver these pieces. But one thing that I think we're not talking about is the noise in stadiums. And I think that is going to influence cadence. And you've got Aaron Rodgers, who is one of the best ever at drawing defenses offside. So how do you work the cadence? How do you get those free plays? I think that's going to be an added edge that I think the Packers will look to utilize. I think Mike Murphy said 10 to 12,000 fans in Lambeau. We just heard the Raiders aren't going to have fans at all. Rams aren't going to have fans. Chargers aren't going to have fans. So now all of a sudden, if you can hear, that's a huge advantage for Aaron Rodgers. And if that's the case, I think they can alter a lot of things, and we can see things that the Packers wouldn't necessarily been able to do in an actual road game with a full stadium versus what they can do this year. And that's, of course, all contingent if, there's a full season and all of that. Yeah. But it's go time. People want it. The players want to play. Yeah. I'm excited for it. It's just hard because there's so much unknown right now. And really what it boils down to is, are you really taking care of yourself, your teammates? Are you putting yourself in a position to stay safe and your family members safe? And, to be honest, it may be less about football and more about just keeping yourself safe and away from the virus just so that you're available. Because if you're not available, you're not playing. So right now there's 5 players on the list, the reserve COVID-19 list for the Packers, the big ones, Mason Crosby, Jay Sternberger. And, they're going to get positive tests. It's the nature of this thing. We've seen it Major League Baseball. But luckily in Green Bay, there's not a whole lot of nightlife. It's not like you're living in Miami.
Oh yeah.
And doing something like the Marlins are doing in baseball. So there's a lot to play for. And I think Packers have the leadership in the locker room. And I think for some of these guys, they realize we got a legitimate chance to do some things this year. And there's no reason to put any of that at risk, especially, for a night out.
So let me ask you this. All right. So I read this on Twitter earlier. So Davante Adams, if this is true, like you tell me, because I saw it on Twitter. Oh, excuse me.
That's the best source ever. Twitter. If it's on Twitter, it's true.
So Twitter said that if Davante Adams has $11 million like on the line, so if they play week 1 and then they cancel the season, he'll lose $11 million and that won't roll over. But if he opted out, that would just roll over to next season. So like him playing, like he could, like, I think eventually, obviously he's Davante Adams, he's going to get paid, but like, so he has some money in limbo. Like, do you know anything about that? I assume you do, because you're like the all-knowing Josh Moser.
So right now, the NFL and the NFL Players Association, they do not have a collective bargaining agreement that they have signed that stipulates what can happen. So right now we know officially that if a player opts out for their own personal reasons, they're getting a $150,000 stipend. If there's a player that opts out that's at high risk, that has a pre-existing health condition, they would get $350,000. A notable name, he hasn't opted out yet, is James Conner, the running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a cancer survivor. So he would fall into that high-risk category and could earn that $350,000. But depending on how much revenue is created, that determines the salary cap numbers for the next year and the salary rollover, and that's where all of that comes into play. So the league and the Players Association are working through that language. And like, think about it this way. Here I am, I'm a player on the bubble. I'm about to get cut, but all of a sudden I'm going to opt out. Man, that's $150,000 I can make versus walking out the door with nothing. Will we see that? How do you protect teams from that either? Like, I mean, there's like, those are the questions that are really holding up this deal. And those are the things they got to figure out here in the next, few weeks before they put pads on and all of that.
So I heard that like you get like that money, that $150,000 that you're talking about. But I heard that that's on like your future contract, almost like an advancement. I think a player tweeted about this. So like, if they don't have a contract next year, let's say it's a player that's on the bubble.
Technically, if they're under the contract for the preseason, they're under contract by the team.
All right. But
before the cut, so that's that language where it's like technically, but it's a gray area.
Yeah. So then it's like an advance on their contract. So if they opt out, it just minus what they would have got paid anyways.
We don't know yet. Like that's what they got to figure out.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I don't know at all. I'm just reading Twitter. I'm trying to read the players' tweets.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to read
that's the big.
That's why I got experts on.
Yeah, and like think of Kenny Clark. We were talking about him earlier. I mean, he's in a contract here, in my opinion. Based off of Aaron Donald, and I mean, he could get a deal worth what should be in the neighborhood of maybe $100 million. Depending on how many seasons they want to put on that, because he's young, and is that going to get affected and be less because the salary cap's lower, because they didn't have enough revenue, because they only played X amount of games? Those are things that the agents and Russ Ball for the Packers will work on. Obviously, there's going to be a lot from the league on that, but that's what the Players Association is fighting for, because they don't want the value of these players' contracts to come down when things are out of their control, because if the league had a good year, all of that would go up and their players would get more. So it was really interesting to see. I saw Bosa from the Chargers. He signed that ridiculous deal. It was like $120 million. And they got that done out of the way because he didn't want to have the season impacted. He said, let's just go with this. So interesting times for sure. And no doubt, in these types of conversations, that the NFL is a business, and Odell Beckham Jr. kind of saying that today on Twitter, speaking of Twitter. And I just am getting an alert. So the opt-out date for the players is now set for Thursday at 4:00 Eastern. So it'd be 3:00 Central. So that gives the players, roughly 3 days to figure out if they're in or out. And that's a very, very important date because that's going to impact a lot of rosters.
So you think that like big time players like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, these big like Patrick Mahomes, like these big time paid players, they probably won't opt out because financially, like would that like really screw them?
Is it really about the money though for them? I think it's
no.
different.
I mean, I think if you live like, I don't know Patrick Mahomes like situation.
Sure.
Like, he's making a lot of money, but let's say he lives with his grandma, like he's taking care of his family. Like,
right.
I get that money doesn't matter. Like he's gonna be all right. He's gonna figure it out later on. But like,
sure.
But is there a bigger money hit for those type of players who make all that money, or is it?
Well, we don't know because like, what if the season's canceled in week 1 or they don't play and they opt out?
That's what I'm saying. It's like
so. Like Russell Wilson specifically, I believe his wife, is will have a baby, or he's a new dad again, so they have an infant. I mean, that's a personal situation. So for him, is it worth the money to put your kid at risk? We saw Danny Vitale, the former Packers fullback, now with the Patriots. He's like, I'm married to Chris Chelios's daughter. I don't need the money. My kid and my family is more important. What's the point? But here you got the NFL probably. They don't want their stars opting out because
they don't want
Mahomes is out or Wilson's out or Rodgers is out or then it's a whole situation. And I mean, I can bet you baseball is upset with Mike Trout. I mean, he's arguably the best player in the game. Similar situation. He just had a little baby, and he's like, it's not worth it. And luckily we're in Green Bay. I'm from Los Angeles, and the COVID situation is completely different in my community where I grew up versus in Green Bay.
And even where I am now, I'm north of Green Bay. It's very less than like in Green Bay.
Right. I mean, imagine living in New York City. So Blake Martinez playing for the Giants. I mean, you have buildings that are 100 stories tall with thousands of people living in. Like, there's just so many more people that you're just
you go into an elevator, you get it 3 times.
Exactly. And that's what happened. So, it's just one of those things that we just don't know. And, for me, even just to have people in the news station, we're only allowed a certain number of people in here. And I took my mask off for this, but I'm the only person in this room. I mean, if I get somebody sick in the news station, then they got to shut the whole thing down. So
I'm not invited.
You're invited as soon as we get through COVID. That's a corporate decision. We're not allowed to have anybody in the building, but I mean, we get our temperature taken. I mean, there's strict protocols, and obviously there's the mask mandated across Green Bay. And man, it's just it's crazy. We're like 4 months into this, and at this point, it doesn't maybe seem as real for people in Wisconsin just because there's only 6 million people in this state. And we're, especially up here in Northeast Wisconsin, we're pretty spread out, and there's not a lot of apartments or condominiums where you're living on top of each other. You got a lot of land and space. So way different than San Francisco. So I wish I had answers. Unfortunately, I just TV, What happens to me? What if the NFL cancels the season and I'm a, TV
what are you going to do?
Do sports? Like, am I out on the street? I mean, I
don't
know.
You'll come on my podcast. I'm not going to pay you, but we'll just chat.
But I have purpose, and that's all I need.
You'll have purpose, and that's no. But I know that you're a busy guy, so I'm gonna let you go. But I want to ask you a little bit about the NBA, about the Bucks. All right. Yeah. So, like the bubble, the whole thing. Like I'm not. I know a little bit about it, but what is the bubble like? So the whole thing, they all play in the same spot, and they're all like in their own thing. Like what's going on with?
There's 3 courts that they're playing it in Disney World. And then there's specific hotels that teams are divided amongst. But they were really smart because they've limited the travel, and they're also testing all the people, and they're putting the people that are working in these facilities in the bubble as well. So they're keeping the same group of people that have all tested negatively together. So therefore you have that negative group of people where no one would be coming in that could potentially have it. And as long as the players are sticking to it and deciding not to go out in Orlando outside of the bubble, or pull a Lou Williams and decide to go to Magic City in Atlanta for some wings, that's an interesting place. Had an interesting night there one time. I will have to share that, away from the podcast at some point in time. But, it's, again, you forget that a lot of these guys, even in the NBA, I mean, some of these guys are 18 years old, 19 years old. And your perspective on life from 19 to 25 is way different than, someone in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And you got all these coaches, that are older as well. And, when you're a professional athlete and you're really young, you feel invincible. I mean, your body, you're in peak condition. And as a professional athlete, what's your likelihood of, getting seriously ill? Probably not. I mean, most of the players are asymptomatic. Eric Bledsoe, the Bucks guard, and then Pat Connaughton, the other Bucks player that tested positive. He's like, I kind of felt bad for maybe half a day, and then I was good. And so it affects people differently. So they're not going to die from it. So
they probably feel how I feel when about
Yeah. Shoot, I miss those days. You could just eat whatever you wanted, didn't have to stretch, and then just sleep 2 hours and you're good to go, man. Those are some good times. Unfortunately,
I'm not in my prime, all right? But
oh, you haven't hit it yet. You haven't peaked.
No,
not at all.
Like sometimes I'll drink all night long, right? I'll drink all night long. My son will bring me some Taco Bell. I'll hit the toilet for a little bit. I go to work the next day. Couple hours is like, I feel kind of rough, and then I'm done. So that's what I assume, being a peak athlete is when you get, this virus. I know for a lot of other people it's a lot worse. I know people, but, I get that it's not a big deal for them, but for a lot of other people, it is a big deal. So I get why they're taking it serious, and I think the NBA is doing it right, but I'm not I was just talking to DeBeer about it. I talked to Crabtree about it. Whatever. I'm not name dropping. Whatever. I'm a big deal. No, but the NFL is so many people. The NFL locker room. You've been in the NFL locker room. All the moving parts more than I do. So many.
Think about this. An NBA roster has 15 players. An NFL roster has 53 plus the practice squad guys.
Yeah.
So, you're talking infinitely more. Yeah. And you've got all the bubble players in the NBA in one location. Football players are still going to have to travel, but unlike baseball, they're only playing one game a week versus baseball where they're in multiple cities every week. So I think baseball, they had tossed around the idea of doing a bubble in Arizona and in Florida. And I think in hindsight, I think they might have wanted to do that, but they wanted to play in the actual parks because those are the major league facilities and those are the best facilities available. And obviously you want to be in your home city as it relates to fans and give some sort of experience. But NHL is doing the same thing in the bubble, and they're good so far. MLS as well, Major League Soccer. It just takes one person. It's really can you be accountable? Are you willing to put yourself and and the team above you and your loved ones first, and just don't do anything stupid. But again, too, sometimes it may not be your fault. You may not even know that you have it, and then all of a sudden, here we go. So there's no answers. I wish I had one. I feel like we all wish we had one. But it
would be really nice. No, but all right. So one sports question before I let you go here, because I know you got work to do probably. I got more drinking to do. All right. Are the Bucks?
You want to trade?
I know, right? Hey, I would if you're gonna go work at the cheese factory on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. I'm off tomorrow, but anyways. So let's say the NBA, which I think will happen. I hope will happen. The NBA will have a full season. They'll do all the things that they got to do. Is Giannis winning the MVP, and are they going to bring a championship back to Milwaukee?
I think Giannis should win the MVP. I think I don't even have a name for you that could compare his numbers. They were the winningest team in the NBA before this thing started. You're playing 8 regular season games. They're 1-1. It's hard not to give it to them. Coach Bud just won a Coach of the Year award. Are they going to bring home a title? I think they're the favorites to win in the East. I think the key is really getting Bledsoe and Connaughton back because they were not the same, especially against a guard-heavy team. They played the Rockets last night. And when you've got a Westbrook, when you've got James Harden, you need those perimeter defenders, and that's Bledsoe's specialty. That's what Connaughton does. He's that energy guy off the bench where he can guard those type of players. And you could tell that they were missing those guys against the Rockets. But I think they match up well against the Celtics, who they beat in the restart in the opener. I think they match up well against the Kawhi Leonard-less Raptors, who they should have beat last year when they were up 2-0. And they've been there before. And I think Kyle Korver said it best. He's like, all the pieces are here. We won an NBA championship, and we know we're that close. So I think they come out of the East. I think the Clippers scare me more than the Lakers in the West, especially if they get Lou Williams and Harrell back. But it's almost like you got to throw everything to the wind because this is so unique. It's so new. It's a restart. You can't base anything off of what happened in March because there was this 4-month hiatus. It's almost like you got to get hot at the right time. It's like NFL playoffs when Packers made the Super Bowl run in 2010. They were the wild card team. They got hot at the right time. They talk about it all the time.
Over and over again. They did that. So, like, do you think, like, any team, let's say the NFL goes all the way through, the NBA goes all the way through. I'm not sure about baseball, but any team that goes all the way through, is there an asterisk behind this year if you win the championship because the crazy, unique, crazy, like this is not normal times?
I think the players that win the championship will say no, and I think everybody else is going to say yes.
I think you're right.
Yeah, especially baseball, because you have the purists that want the 162 games and all the stats matter, and now there's 7-inning games, so
dude,
baseball more so with the asterisk. I mean, they didn't start, so basketball at least had half a season, but yeah, asterisk it all. I mean, baseball's got enough asterisks with steroids.
I'm gonna say if you're a baseball guy and you're gonna start throwing asterisks out there, you don't want to start doing that because there's gonna be a lot of.
I mean, there's a ton of them out there already.
Oh yeah,
Ron did win the MVP.
What do you think about
Brewers fans? He still got it.
What do you think about, like, I'm not a huge baseball guy, but I heard about, obviously the Houston did like the cheating thing or whatever. Then they were chucking balls at people's heads the other day. Like, what was going on with that?
I'm a Dodgers fan. I grew up in LA. I thought it was great.
I thought it was great
Joe
too.
Kelly is my unofficial hero for throwing at them and then just say you got to cheat to hit. Do I agree with the 8-game suspension? No. Do I understand it? Yeah. But when you have to cheat to win and it's proven, and then all of a sudden you're given immunity for truthful testimony and then no recompense for it, it's wrong on so many levels. And as a Dodgers fan, as someone that grew up in LA, the Astros beat the Dodgers, to go to the World Series. I mean, that was it. I mean, that was Dodgers would have been there. And for someone, that remembers Kirk Gibson, running around third base in '88, when they won, it's a big deal. I mean, it's just like here in Wisconsin. I mean, you remember the Brett Favre Super Bowls. You remember those close games. I mean, shoot, I remember the NFC Championship game in Atlanta a few years back and how everybody was sick. And just like, man, if they were healthy, like that was our year. And you don't realize how one little thing, can mean so much. And apologies, getting low battery on the phone. And, it is what it is. We can talk all we want, but
Dude, I love it. I love it.
And
they're trucking at their head. No, if you're going to cheat and it's proven, like, I'm not a big baseball guy. I don't know a ton of knowledge about all that's going on.
But think about this, like, for a second. If you've got someone telling you what pitch is going to come.
Oh, yeah.
That is a huge advantage. Now, all of a sudden, you get a pitcher that's, like, strikes a dude out, throwing at their head. Like, that's the advantage of the pitcher. I mean, pitchers reign supreme in baseball still to this day. And now, like, they got nothing. That is a huge, huge advantage. Like, imagine being a defensive player in football and you automatically know pre-snap what play they're going to run.
Oh, yeah. That's huge.
It changes everything.
Like what you said about like games, like that affected you, like, as a fan, as an LA guy. Like, I remember, like, I talk about, like, the T.O. game. He caught the ball. But before that, Jerry Rice fumbled. Like Jerry Rice fumbled, and then like I'll say this today. I love Jerry Rice. I follow him on Instagram and all these things. I look at all the sweaty pictures. He's working out. He's doing all these things. But like Jerry Rice fumbled in that game, and if they called it how it was supposed to be called, like things would be different. I don't know what would have changed, but like the Packers would have won that game. I know that. But
For
like,
sure. That Bryant catch, I mean, all of those things. That's why we still talk about them years later, because you remember those.
Oh, yeah. You don't forget. Like 4th and 26.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on that shit.
Exactly. David Tyree catching the ball against his helmet in the Super Bowl. I mean, just there's moments like that, and it's fun to reminisce. And, you know, probably 4th and 26, you probably remember exactly where you were, who you were with. I mean, and that's what makes sports special.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I know
it does, because you remember win or lose, I remember all that shit. Like, I remember going to work when the Chargers beat the Packers. I don't even know what season it was. But remember, the Chargers beat the shit out of the Packers. And I walked into work, and there's a Charger fan that worked there. He worked there for, like, that day only, right? I don't even know. I don't remember. And then he's like, how about them Packers? So I was like, you know what? Why don't you go F yourself? I just started cussing this dude out. And they're like, you can't talk to me like that. Like, don't talk to me about the Packers. And how about that? Like, I remember, I don't remember, like, that game because it was a regular season game. Didn't even matter. But I was like, dude, don't talk shit about the Packers. I'll lose my job on this shit. No, but I know your battery's dying. And I appreciate you coming on this thing. I'm going to have you on a lot, Josh. All right. Season or no season, we're going to talk some sports, all right? You're not going to get paid.
That content, that behind-the-scenes info that your audience needs.
Yeah, and hey, when this virus passes and we actually beat this thing, I'm going to come to Fox 11. We're going to do some fake news stories, all right? I want to be in the studio.
We got some fake news. We're just a Fox affiliate, though, so be careful when you say fake news around here. You know,
No,
I got a reputation.
I didn't mean it like that. I meant do some skits.
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
That's great, you know. Fake news. No, we got that thing. Hey, I appreciate you coming on. Hey, go Pack, go. I appreciate you taking the time.
And always, my man. I got you.